World War II wasn't just fought with bullets and bombs. It was fought with debt. Behind every tank rolling, every ship sailing, and every plane roaring across the skies, there was a bond. And behind every bond, there was a secret deal, a silent agreement that shaped the modern world as we know it. We often talk about the bravery of soldiers and the sacrifice of nations, but who really paid for the most expensive war in history? The answer isn't as simple as you might think. The world of 1939 was still reeling from the scars of the First Global Conflict and the grinding poverty of the Great Depression. Nations were economically shattered, their treasuries depleted, and their populations exhausted. Yet, against all odds, they plunged into an even larger, more destructive war. How? How did governments, nearly bankrupt just years earlier, manage to finance a conflict that cost trillions of dollars and mobilized entire continents? The answer lies in a financial weapon as powerful as any new tank or fighter plane: the war bond. It was a promise to pay later, but it was packaged as a patriotic duty, a shared sacrifice that transformed individual savings into the ultimate instrument of destruction and ultimately, victory. Let's start with the economic powerhouse that ultimately tipped the scales: the United States. When America entered the war, it faced an unprecedented financial challenge. The government needed to raise truly astronomical sums of money, far more than traditional taxes could ever generate. Their solution was the war bond machine. Through an epic propaganda campaign, ordinary Americans were implored to buy bonds. Celebrities like Humphrey Bogart and Bette Davis crisscrossed the country, urging citizens to buy war bonds. Parades, radio ads, and posters with Uncle Sam pointing directly at you hammered home the message: buying a bond wasn't just an investment. It was an act of patriotism, a direct contribution to winning the war. Over $185 billion was raised this way, an amount equivalent to trillions in today's money. But here is the often unspoken truth. While small individual investors played a crucial role in building national morale, the vast majority of the funds actually came from an entirely different source. The biggest buyers of war bonds were banks, corporations, and critically, the Federal Reserve itself. The U.S. Treasury struck a secret deal with Wall Street and the Federal Reserve. The central bank would guarantee that interest rates on government debt would remain artificially low. This meant the government could borrow massive amounts of money at minimal cost, essentially creating money out of thin air to fund the war effort. It was a hidden mechanism that allowed the U.S. to print its way to victory without triggering runaway inflation, a dangerous tightrope walk that defined the wartime economy. Across the Atlantic, Great Britain faced an even more desperate financial struggle. The British Empire, once the undisputed global superpower, was already on the verge of bankruptcy. Its gold reserves were rapidly draining, its industries were being bombed into rubble, and it stood alone against the Nazi war machine for far too long. Winston Churchill, Britain's indomitable prime minister, famously admitted that Britain's entire wealth was shipped across the Atlantic. The lifeline came in the form of the Lend-Lease Act from the United States. This wasn't a direct loan, but rather an ingenious scheme to allow Britain and other allies to borrow vast quantities of weapons, supplies, and food without immediate payment. In exchange, Britain often transferred patents, bases, and long-term trade concessions. But there were also quiet transfers of assets, hidden payments made to American banks and institutions. The war wasn't just being fought on battlefields. It was also fought in the ledger books. And the price of survival for Britain was the slow, almost imperceptible transfer of its global financial power to the rising might of the United States. It was a shift that would define the post-war world. While the Allied powers financed their war efforts through bonds and strategic alliances, the Axis powers, Germany and Japan, relied on a far darker, more predatory financial strategy. Germany, under the Nazi regime, implemented a system of massive, hidden debt. Their notorious Mefo bills were essentially secret promissory notes created by the Reichsbank to finance rearmament without revealing the true scale of military spending. These were effectively IOUs from the government, cleverly designed to circumvent international scrutiny and even deceive their own population about the nation's financial health. It allowed Hitler to build his war machine at breakneck speed, but it created a colossal debt bomb that, when the war ended, nearly detonated Germany's post-war economy. Japan, similarly, pushed its financial system to the breaking point. It funded its imperial ambitions through vast internal debt, confiscation of assets from occupied territories, and brutal exploitation of conquered populations. For both Axis powers, money was not just a tool for war. It was an instrument of oppression, theft, and forced labor, a stark contrast to the voluntary war bond campaigns of the Allies. Their financial strategy was built on unsustainable plunder, destined to collapse with their military defeat. The guns eventually fell silent, but the debt remained. The end of World War II didn't mean the end of the financial war. In fact, it birthed a new global financial order. In 1944, even as the fighting raged, representatives from 44 Allied nations met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to prevent another global economic collapse. Out of this meeting came the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank, institutions designed to stabilize currencies and rebuild war-torn economies. But the most significant outcome was the quiet anointing of the US dollar, backed by America's immense gold reserves, as the world's primary reserve currency. The war bonds that had funded the Allied victory were gradually transformed into U.S. Treasury bonds, now seen as the safest asset on the planet. This cemented America's financial dominance, making the dollar the bedrock of global trade and finance. The quiet truth was this: the war had made debt permanent, institutionalizing government borrowing as a fundamental feature of the modern global economy. So, are we still paying for World War II? In a very real sense, yes. Many nations spent decades paying off their war bonds and their wartime debts, with some, like Britain, making their final payments on U.S. Lend-Lease loans as late as the 2000s. The structure of today's massive government debt's the way central banks manage interest rates and the dollar's role as the world's currency all trace their origins back to the unprecedented financial experiments undertaken during the war. The financial instruments created to fund the deadliest conflict in human history didn't just disappear. They evolved. Every dollar you hold, every government bond traded, is a descendant of the secret debts that once bought victory. Money didn't just win the war. It never stopped fighting, transforming the world into a landscape shaped by its silent, invisible power. If you learned something, hit subscribe. Have a great day.